Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Delmar, together with my co-host Mark Ronich of Statewide News Service and jbiztechvalley.com. We have a very, very special guest with us. This is Jane Sanders. You're the Outreach Supervisor of Bethlehem Senior Services Department. Jane, welcome to the Jewish View.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm
Thank
so
you,
glad
Rabbi
that you're
Mark.
here, and you're so young to be part of the Senior Services Department, so I kind of was questioning the youth part, the youthfulness part.
I've been around for a while.
Yeah, and so tell us what you do with Senior Services.
Well, maybe we should know how many seniors there are. How many seniors in Bethlehem are you serving?
Well, there are about 7,000 seniors. For us, we consider senior anyone 60 and over, which is very young, I know.
Well, I'm 29, so just I'm not in that category, but all right.
So 60 and up, and we work with people. There's a woman in the community who's 103 who I see regularly. There are about 7,000 people over the age of 60, but most are living at home doing just fine. So probably
it's like 25% of the community. What is there, 32, 33? So it's like 20%. That's a lot.
People come here and they stay. Aging in place is a.
Are you counting like the atria in that number?
No. No,
Okay.
we count people living independently.
Independently. Wow.
Yeah.
So it's even higher if you count the folks in these
True.
assisted living places.
Yeah.
Because you got Beverwick in the town.
There's Beverwick, there's Atria,
Atria.
there's a Good Samaritan complex.
Right.
But we don't work with people who don't live in their own places.
Okay.
So people in the assisted living and nursing homes are not part of our constituency.
Well, but it just gives an idea that it's even more
Sure.
than what you are responsible for in your catchment area.
Right.
Yeah.
But keeping in mind that most people, 60 is still fairly young, most people are on their own and doing fine. Many people
yeah.
are working,
Still working,
volunteering. So we probably have 2,500 people who we have contact with throughout the year, whether it's with our transportation or our social work services. There's some people who use our services weekly and others who maybe it'll be once a year or every couple of years.
What would be those services? What would be maybe something typical where a person would call you up, hey, I need ...
Good question. Probably most people know our transportation. We have 4 vans and 4 cars. 2 of the vans are wheelchair accessible. So people who don't drive anymore and need rides to medical appointments, chemotherapy, physical therapy, whatever it may be, grocery shopping. We have groups that go grocery shopping, some social programs. So people come to those, as well as our part, the outreach department, which we have 3 social workers. People may call us, you may call and say, I have a question about my mom or my dad, or I'm thinking of moving. I don't know if I should stay in my own home or move to an apartment or move to assisted living. Or we have people who call us and say, I have a family member in the hospital and they want us to pick a place for them to go and I don't know any place. Can you talk me through it? So we'll do that. We don't recommend a place, but we'll tell them pros and cons. So we do that. We have a community loan closet with wheelchairs, walkers, canes.
Oh, that type of
commodes.
loan.
Right, yeah, no money.
You loan out equipment.
Right,
Okay.
an equipment
And what's
closet.
the budget for all this?
Well, our budget,
Approximately.
we're about 1.5% of the town's budget, our
Okay.
department. But we have a not-for-profit, Bethlehem Senior Projects, that helps pay for half of the vans and half of the cars. So it's really hard to.
And who runs that not-for-profit?
It's a separate board.
Right, but who's the president or executive director?
Oh, well, Todd Tobin is the president of the board, and then it's made up of people in the community.
And where is it based?
There's no office for
No?
it.
Okay.
They meet once a month somewhere.
In someone's house or something.
Or
Yeah,
I
okay.
think. And then they do what they need to do. There's no fee, and I think their only required expenses being audited once a year.
Right.
But mainly people make donations in honor of people in memory, and it adds up.
Wow.
So
Are you
there's
their
some
only
grants.
beneficiary? Or?
Well, no, the Bethlehem Food Pantry is sponsored
That's what I
by
was just
Senior
going to
Projects.
ask you. I know it's an issue in Israel, and that's why I wanted to ask. There are a lot of seniors not just the homeless, but they don't even what to eat. I mean, sometimes we think, okay, a senior, they've been working 30, 40 years, and now they have a nice pension, and all right, they need a little help, like you say, going shopping. You get the credit a little old, but but some are in a more serious situation than that. And you deal with it. I mean, on one hand, maybe Bethlehem's surely a nicer suburb. It's not the inner city, but
we have all kinds of people here. There are people here who they're like anywhere else, just smaller. Substance abuse, people who hoard, people who
gambling addiction.
Addiction.
Well, a lot of seniors go to Turning Stone, or they go to a casino, and they'll play with the money that they should be using for food.
So we don't sponsor trips to casinos.
I'm glad to hear that, because that's a very important issue right now. Yeah.
But I know people think of Bethlehem as a fairly well-off community, but there are a number of people. I guess you could say we're all on fixed incomes.
Well, everyone's
work. But there are some seniors. I was just looking today. There's someone who the income maybe of $800 a month. So maybe they live in one of the subsidized senior apartment buildings. There are people who are homebound who get Meals on Wheels. Which we have volunteers who deliver Meals on Wheels. We probably have about 250 volunteers who work with us throughout the year, which is incredible. So you don't count those people.
Do you have
as
a
part of our
volunteer
budget.
appreciation dinner or luncheon or something?
This year it'll be May 13th. We have something at Normanside for our volunteers, and we invite them to come celebrate.
Very nice. It's important. I mean, I always look at community, because I'm a rabbi. I'm not a social worker officially, but I say unofficially I am. That because you help people, and people will come to a rabbi or any clergyman. I know I talk to others, when they need help for things like that, and a little bit from the Jewish perspective, people also think, well, Jewish people aren't the alcoholics. So it's nice to say that, or Jewish people have money. I mean, again, maybe it's nice to say, but it's just like you say, it's not true. It's there are problems in any community, including the Jewish people. There's alcoholism, there's gambling problems, and there's poorness. People are poor.
Poverty.
Yeah, poverty, and it kind of gets. I know in the Jewish community, it gets slipped between the cracks. Because people, if you don't observe the problem, you're surely not going to cure the problem. This is what to talk about. So that's why I even think Bethlehem. Oh yeah, people have money in Bethlehem. It's a nice suburb. So you think again, people don't need help, and they, people fall through the cracks, so to speak. But I guess you're covering the cracks.
We're trying. We do what we can.
One of the things that we are blessed with in town of Bethlehem is the fact that CDTA also helps out with transportation. Even though you have the 4 vans and the 4 cars, there's also CDTA, the iRide and all that. So there's that extra. But people still like their independence, and they still like to drive. And there's a big issue in society, not necessarily in the town of Bethlehem, but about elderly driving and having a medication symptoms or reaction to the medication, having accidents, and thinking you're in reverse when you're in drive and you go through a store window. I mean, it happens at any age, but a lot of it is above 60, we'll say. You work with AARP on a safe driving courses?
There is a 55 Alive,
right.
which I don't know if it's still called that, but safe driving.
Right.
Once a month we have a course, and that's open. People sign up in advance and come, and it's always filled up.
Yeah.
And that...
It's important to keep aware of what, that you might take for granted, and to have a refresher course in driving. I would think just for safety reasons, just so that you don't have an issue with an accident.
Yes, I took it a couple years ago. It's a good reminder of, I think when kids first get their license, there's a 6-hour driving course that they take. It's very similar to that. So it just reminds us to stop for a certain amount at the stop sign, and look, use your mirrors, all things that we know we should do.
And reflexes are slower for people above 60. I always said that someone above 70 every 3 years should have a road test, that the state should issue road tests, but there isn't the legislator in the world who's going to touch that as a as something that needs to be done, because I think a number of these seniors would really fail a road test if they had to every 3 years. I mean, but it would take them off the road, and it would be lower insurance rates also.
Well, there's a book put out by the New York State Office for Aging called When You Are Concerned, and it's about driving, and it's how to talk to people, seniors or anyone who you have questionable driving skills, and it's a good way to get the conversation started. It also has some alternate some other information about transportation possibilities around, but that is a big concern for many people, the driving. And people who have dementia, that's another thing we do. We have a caregiver group for people who have dementia, but that's always a big question. When should you stop driving, or should you? There are people who are 100 who are still driving fine.
Oh, I
so
know.
do you tell them to stop? Or, I mean, they may be doing fine, but then you get people who are 55 who aren't so good.
I see the head below the steering wheel, and I don't think anyone's driving. I think it's a self-driving car, and it's like, oh, there she is.
I actually talked to a professor about, maybe you don't have statistics about it, but thank God, people are healthier in the United States, and better medical care and health care. So people are getting older and older. They may actually said that the biggest percentage, not number, but percentage of group of every decade, the 20s or the 30s, is over 100. Usually be 100 years old, whoever, would make the headlines of a newspaper.
Willard Scott. Willard Scott would have you on. And you don't know about this on the Today Show. He has a Smucker's, sponsored by Smucker's Jelly, and anyone who turns over 100 or more, gets their picture and he talks about them for a few seconds, and so it's.
But it's more and more. It used to be like, again, this is news, but it's not 1 out of a million. It's
but you hear that him saying, this one's 113, this one's 110, this one's 108. You don't hear him just saying about 100-year-old. You hear about, do you watch?
I've not recently, but I have in the past. The oldest person I worked with was 107.
Wow.
Really?
Who
So,
was
but I
living
mean,
in town.
but that's also a strain on your services. I mean, on one hand, it's very nice. Glad everybody's healthy and living long. It's always a blessing. You give a blessing. You should live till 120.
That's right.
And you should be with health, of course. But on the other hand, that's what I'm thinking. Senior services becomes a little bit of a strain, doesn't it? I mean,
and I want people to know that you do put out this pamphlet, Senior Services News, and it's very important. There's really a lot of information in here, especially with what you do with outreach services. There's a tax counseling services, the HEAP application for energy assistance for your national grid bill, Medicare basics.
We have a lot of programs.
You do caregiver support group. Bereavement support group. I mean, a SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. I didn't know people over a certain age were available.
Any age.
Any
have
age.
SNAP.
The SNAP. See, I always think of it's the younger end of the age spectrum. But you have senior legal services program. I mean, there's so much. I mean, it's just amazing.
And then social programs are in there as well.
Yeah, I
going
see
out to
that. You
plays and meals.
Yeah, you have trips to different plays. You had a trip to Sister Act and the Mendelssohn Club concert, and boy, that's really, and you did Proctor's. You had something at Proctor's.
that's important for, I think,
Book 'em,
that for seniors, it's not just to keep them alive or,
Right.
give them some food, take them for food or, give them to their
Get them
checkup.
out.
Well, yeah.
To keep
that's
them moving,
important.
keep
Yeah,
them
that's an important part.
keep their.
You have time on your hands, and you just sit
Social.
there and vegetate in your house the whole day.
Well, I'll tell you, when I was doing fundraising, I used to call up for different not-for-profits. I used to call up the seniors and say, even I'll pick you up, but can you come and stuff envelopes? Can you put stamps on the envelopes? And they would love to do it because it got them to see. Made them feel vital and vibrant.
Sure.
Yeah.
All of our drivers are senior. Well, most of them are people who are retired, who are out. They're all volunteers to drive their cars in the van.
Hopefully safely.
Even more-
Yes, yes.
It was interesting, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, to blessed memory, that he always was pushing for people to fill their potential, and he saw a problem exactly this in the United States where, people, especially young, 65, we don't need you anymore. Retire and just sit
That's
there and
when
almost like
that's when we
vegetate.
need them. Is after the 65.
Then the
It's
this
just,
is a shame because these, experience means so much.
right.
And they have such important experiences in their life, and the knowledge, something that's not just a matter of you have a PhD, it's just life-giving services, and they're ever pushed for even learning, studying, again, showing that they are important. It's, it's God gives life, and if God gave them life, then, accomplish something to help other people. And it is really true. I think a little bit problem in our society is we just don't think the elders have anything to offer. It's the youth. So how are you going to get a teenager or a 20-year-old? All right, obviously they have something to offer to society, but, just to lose the generation of seniors and saying they're worthless, let them, all right, go out and vegetate on a farm. It really is ludicrous. And I even think that what Reb was alluding to is that there's so much could be, maybe some of our problems in societies would be cured if we would look to the elderly instead of just, in the 1960s started, you're over, over 29, over 39, good thing I'm 29.
But it's also,
important.
well, in the 60s they said you can't trust anyone over 30.
That was it.
That was the
Thank you. All
expression.
right.
But, the point is that it's a different world now than it was, when 30, 40 years ago. A lot of the seniors, I don't know how computer literate, the senior population here is in Bethlehem, but I'm finding that a lot of seniors still like to write letters and do snail mail. They don't really like the computer. It's not interactive enough for them. And then on the other hand, there are a lot of seniors who use Skype and love email and do the computer and watch videos and see their grandkids over, from far away. And I'm just saying that there's such a difference.
It's a real wide variety.
So maybe you can offer computer classes for the seniors in Bethlehem.
It's an idea.
It's an idea. Okay, there you go. We'll have to raise some money for you. Maybe Apple has some money for you
Maybe
that you can do that.
Yeah, there are people who call, and actually the newsletter that you have is available online.
Oh, good.
And when we go do home visits, sometimes we'll ask people if they have a computer or if they want to know. We don't mail that out because it would just be too expensive to
But you
mail
can
to
get it at
everyone.
the Bethlehem Public Library.
You get it at the library, you get it at town hall, you get it lots of
Shameless
different places. But it is online.
Yeah.
So oftentimes someone's adult child will print it out for their parent and give it to them.
That's what I hear a lot of times. I hear, I'll have someone print it out and then I'll see it. And it takes 3 days for them to, it's easier for me to deliver it.
But we're finding, I have an email list I use for reminders for a discussion group that I have and for the caregiver support group. I just send an email out to the people, and then that's got groups of people who are in their 80s or so. So they're, it just depends.
I'm sure. It's a mix, and like everything, but it's, your slogan here is news you can use. And I have a slogan for my website, news Jews can use.
There you go.
So I'm writing a column where how government relates to the Jewish community. So everything is all about the Jewish angle on things. Paul McCartney's coming to the Capital District, so he's talking about someone who's a senior.
Yes, that's
he's
right. I was
hanging
going to
out
say,
with
what's
the
the
70
Jewish
years
angle
old.
on
Well,
He's going out with a Jewish.
no, he's married.
Married
His
to-
first wife was Jewish. His current wife is
that?
Jewish.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
He went to Yom Kippur services. He got married the day after Yom Kippur, and there's other things. There's even talk in the Jewish community that he might convert to Judaism. So there's a lot. He's got a lot of affinity. His manager was Brian Epstein.
Yeah.
He has another Epstein in his circle of close people. So there's a
You're
lot.
talking
And
about
so
government?
go on my website and you'll read about
I
it.
will
That's
do
it.
that.
Shameless plug.
Shameless
again.
plug. Yeah, there you go.
Just talk about that. Do you have to, as an outreach, have to work with the government or just lobby, say, hey, we need a little bit more money? Is that part of your job, or it's just
We
in the
don't
social
do
services?
much as far as policy making in our department.
Right.
That's probably
Above your pay grade.
above, most definitely. But if there's a need, if we see a need, we will try to fill it. For example, what would be an example? Well, my coworker Will does a grief support group, a bereavement group, and that's something that we didn't do, and then few years ago, a couple of years ago, he said, there are a lot of people who are losing spouses, or many people we talk to have lost adult children. So he started a group, and they meet each month. So we try to fill local needs.
Do you have to be a town resident to take advantage of these groups?
Not of the groups. Of our social programs, yes, but the bereavement group and the caregiver support group, no. Anybody can go to those. Yeah, and the same thing with the AARP tax counseling. Anybody can go to that. We're done with that for the year now.
And that you have to above 55.
No, there are some younger people who do that as well. They're volunteers through AARP who
Right.
are the tax counselors.
But the folks who can take advantage of that have to be above, because 50 is AARP now, right?
That's true.
Okay, so it's above 50 because you have to be at least an AARP member, I would presume?
No, not for the tax counseling.
Not for the tax counseling.
Call and make an appointment.
And go in.
As
Doesn't
far as I
matter.
know, at least
Okay.
that's how we've been doing it. I
That's
think.
good. Okay, good to know. I'll be there.
And they do simple. They don't do anything too complicated.
Okay.
But yeah.
So, do you do a lot of dancing? You have a lot of dance groups and
Or any physical. I
physical.
think
That's
physical
always
things.
good to. I mean, what other? I mean, because the Albany JCC has a lot of, things for seniors. Do you work with the Albany JCC with their senior programs?
No,
or-
we don't. We work with our town parks and rec department.
Okay.
They're actually on Tuesday and Friday mornings. There's an aerobic kind of exercise dance class at Town Hall that's planned by Parks and Rec. There's a yoga for people 50 and up. There's a senior chorus. So we
Yeah.
have about maybe 60 people who come
Yeah,
each
that's
week
a lot.
to sing, and then put concerts on a few times a year at some of the assisted living, some of the places you mentioned before,
Mhm.
Beverwick and Atria. What else do we do physical? There,
Those exercises a lot. I mean, just again, we were saying just to get out, number one, but just keep moving,
Sure, and the
mean, just,
YMCA has a huge active older adult program,
Mm-hmm.
whereas I think some of the programs the town used to sponsor, some of the swimming, aerobic, water exercise classes now are very popular through
But
the
you have
Y.
to be a member at the Y.
Yes,
though.
at the Y you do.
Is there any paid staff in your department, or?
Oh yeah, yes, I'm paid.
Oh, you're paid. Okay.
Yes, our director, Joyce Becker, the social workers, Peggy Osborne's our transportation, there's Liz Becker. We have some part-time people.
What's the approximate annual salary in public record? So it's not anything that, I'm not asking anything out of
No, probably
turn.
mid-50s or so. It's
Yeah.
not that high.
Mid-50s is good.
Well,
a
it's
lot
all
of
right.
people would
That's true.
would love mid-50s. Don't sell it short.
40s to 50, depends on
Yeah.
what you're doing.
Yeah, okay, but it's in the 40 to 50,000 range for a
Yes,
salary
or
there.
higher.
Okay. All right. Well, it's good to know if people need a job, they can apply.
There you go. Yeah.
What's this taste of the co-op? What did you do with
Taste of the co-op?
Representative Honest Weight Food Co-op?
Oh, during the winter time,
Yeah.
we had health every year from early January through the end of March. We have a health and wellness program on Friday afternoons from 1 to 2, where we have different organizations. I think probably that was someone from the Honest Way Co-op came in and talked about some of their programs and brought some samples of things.
Okay.
There's probably
Food attracts people.
yes, it does. Probably 20 people who came regularly each week to those programs.
Mhm.
We had Cornell Cooperative Extension come and talk about some food things. Some we had the Attorney General's office talking about scams, senior scams,
Yeah.
which is huge.
Huge.
So there were a number of programs, and that's what that was.
Do you, when an policy issue comes up or political issue, do you go before, or do you, the group, when I say you, not you personally, go before the town board and express the concerns of other seniors, or, do you ask the seniors themselves to come to a town board meeting and to speak up for themselves?
We can do that. The town, where we have direct access, working for the town, if we have a
Sure.
concern, we may go right to the town supervisor
Mm-hmm.
and ask a question about things. But many seniors do advocate, whether, if not here, then they may go through.
The reason I'm asking is because the town board meetings are televised.
Yes.
And so other seniors might like to know that you're not talking necessarily privately, but that you're making a public statement about something that affects them, because they may not be able to get there. They may be able to watch it on TV, and there you are advocating and telling people, here, we're there for you, and here's the proof. Even though you met privately, you still may want to take up some time at the town board meeting to make everyone aware
Yep.
of something. So you don't really do that
Not
that
regularly.
much. Okay.
Not regularly.
With the seniors, let's say someone needs help at home, they're a single woman, for example, and leaving the lawn. I mean, just you own a home and it's nothing but a headache sometimes. But I mean, do they come in and think, listen, I just can't handle this, or even fix maybe a bulb? Maybe a senior, an old person can't get up there and change a light bulbs, and she's all alone. I mean, just things like that. I mean, simple things.
Yep, things like that. There's an organization called Umbrella out in the community that has people who can do that sort of thing. They have handy women who can come out if you belong to Umbrella. There's the Youth Employment Service that maybe a teenager can come and do some of those things. So we give people at least 3 options of what's out in the community to have things done.
That's just
for them.
phenomenal. I just think what you're doing is such a great, fills a great gap, and for the amount of money that it costs for this, it's well worth it. I just think it's phenomenal. I want to get old now.
There you go. And if you ever on Medicaid, you can or Medicare, you come to us for health insurance counseling. We do that, and each year it takes a lot of time.
Okay.
They actually say, as it is important what Mark's saying, and a lot of times there are quotes that you judge a society by the way they keep the seniors. I mean, the worst was like in Sparta, you're an old person, you're goodbye and good luck, and, drop dead. But, and it's important that America, it is important. That's why I was even bringing the 60s. Not only, the Rebbe emphasized, not only take care of them physically, but, they have so much to offer. So it really is, I think, an important part, not just to take care of your seniors, but just for society in general, community in general, that, you don't just, it's very nice. Bethlehem has nice schools and has nice parks. It's very beautiful, but how do you take care of the seniors is an integral part of society, and
Well,
even a major part.
You know what they say when you're going to get married, and before you get married and you're engaged, see how your future spouse treats their mother, and that's how they'll treat you when you get older. But see how the way they treat you, whether it's a woman or whether it's the daughter or the son, see how they treat the mother, and then you'll know how they'll treat you. And that's the real. So that's a plus for the seniors, I'm saying, because everyone should take care of their senior parent. And
People want to stay in town. That's you heard the large number who are here of people over the age of 60, because it's a nice place to live, and we have good programs throughout life.
I mean, if you're here for 30, 40 years, let's say you moved after college to 25, so
Hello.
you're here for 40, all right, that's a normal person, you're 25, 30, so you're here for 30, 40 years, and say, okay, goodbye. I mean, you've lived practically your whole life here, raised your kids
I'm
here.
on 35 years, going on 35 years here.
In any case, we're out of time.
We
It was
are,
very
okay.
interesting. Jane Sanders,
Jane is terrific. I'm so glad you
Thank
came.
you. Thank you for having me.
we just want to wish you good health also, and of course we're all 29, but in any case, with good health and doing excellent work with the senior.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you both.